Hi, welcome to one of a series of short Reader's Guide films from Plainfield Public Library's Reference Department. We hope you'll enjoy this reading guide for a subgenre of books. The following books are just a sample of what the library offers. You'll find a link to a printable PDF version of this guide in the description of this video. All the titles are available for free with your library card in a variety of formats. Please see the individual title listings for details. If any of the books interest you and you want to find out more, or if you have any other inquiries, you can speak with the librarian on 908-757-1111 extension 112 or email ref@plfdpl.info. If you want more time to read about a book on screen now as you watch, just hit pause. Now, please enjoy our Reader's Guide. We hope you find it useful. Hard-boiled mysteries. Hard-boiled fiction is a tough, unsentimental style of American crime writing that brings a new tone of earthy realism or naturalism to the field of detective fiction. Its tropes include sex and violence, vivid but often sordid urban backgrounds, and fast-paced, slangy dialogue. Let's start with West Side by W.M. Akers. A young detective who specialises in tiny mysteries finds herself at the centre of a massive conspiracy in this beguiling historical fantasy set on Manhattan's West Side, a peculiar and dangerous neighbourhood, home to strange magic and stranger residents. A Private Cathedral by James Lee Burke. Isolde Belanger tells Detective Dave Robichaud that her parents have given her to the Chandel patriarch to be used as a sex slave. Seeking to uncover why, Robichaud gets too close to both Isolde's mother and her father's mistress. As retribution, the elder Belanger orders a mysterious assassin to go after Robichaud. This is book number 23 of the Dave Robichaud series. Do No Harm by Max Allan Collins. Heller takes on the Sam Shepard case. A young doctor is startled from sleep and discovers his wife brutally murdered. He claims that a mysterious intruder killed his wife, but all the evidence points to a disturbed husband who's grown tired of married life and yearned to be free at all costs. This is the latest and number 17 of the Nathan Heller series. Back Bay Blues by Peter Colt. Andy's latest case has ties to Vietnam. His new client, a beautiful and enigmatic young Vietnamese woman, hires him to investigate her uncle's murder. Andy discovers a connection to a group of refugees determined to overthrow the communist government. This is the latest, book number 2, of the Andy Rourke mysteries. Lives Laid Away by Stephen Mac Jones. August's friend Elena, an advocate for undocumented immigrants, recognizes a photo of a young dead woman immediately. She's not the only young woman to have disappeared during an Immigration and Customs Enforcement ICE raid, only to turn up dead a few weeks later. This is the latest book, number 2, in the August Snow mysteries. Trouble Is What I Do by Walter Mosley. Detective Leonid McGill is forced to confront the ghost of his felonious past when a nonagenarian Mississippi bluesman is targeted by an infamous assassin. This is the latest book, number 6, in the Leonid McGill mysteries. Line of Sight by James Quealy. A newly minted PI is shown a video by an activist which shows the same kind of questionable use of force that had set New York City, Ferguson and Cleveland on fire in recent years. The PI, Russell Avery, discovers that the young black man who filmed the video is dead, and the more questions Russell asks, the less his cop buddies like him. Turn on the Heat by Earl Stanley Gardner. Hired by a mysterious Mr. Smith to find a woman who vanished 21 years earlier, Donald Lamb finds himself facing a sadistic cop, a desperate showgirl, a duplicitous client, and one very dogged and beautiful newspaper reporter. Well, Bertha Coole's attempts to cut herself in on this lucrative opportunity land them both hip deep in murder. Balthazar's Gift by Charlotte Otter. Maybe it was an error for crime reporter Maggie Cloete to ignore the call from an AIDS worker before someone put 4 bullets in his chest. Balthazar's Gift continues in the tradition of pacey, hard-boiled South African crime fiction. This is book number 1 of the Maggie Cloete series. Skin-deep motifs by Aaron Hilton. A pair of disenchanted private investigators probe a murder that hits them where they live and breathe, the killing of the tattoo artist that inked their first tats. Vegas Snap by P. Lawrence Plansky. Set in glitzy Las Vegas, this mystery novel unravels 2 grotesque crimes. Relive the heady days of the US real estate bubble when corrupt lenders and many other players dealt painful fraud that led to the country's financial bust of 2008. 21 Immortals by Ruslan Modnour. Inspector Mislan is a reluctant and hard-boiled lead investigator in what looks like a perfect crime involving triad members with powerful connections at the top, enough to get away with murder. Apart from having to contend with an ingenious bunch of criminals, he has to overcome resistance from the brass within his own force. Burdened by Guilt by Michiko Katsu. Detective Mike Anderson must rely on the insights of sexy English professor Suzanne Kelly to help him solve the mystery when the dismembered body of a murder victim is found with a note from a classic work of literature. Drained of blood and chopped into pieces, the note is his only clue. At the Hour of Our Death by James Curran. Micah Connaught is a jaded priest confronted with a crisis of faith. Is there any reason to believe in people? After discovering a girl was murdered near his church and a police department that couldn't care less, Father Mick embarks on a dangerous quest to find her killer in a city that likes being dirty. Dead Ball by R.D. Rosen. 15 years after retiring from baseball, Harvey Blisberg is tracked down by his former team's owner. The team's star, Moss Cooley, is on the verge of shattering Joe DiMaggio's unbreakable 56-game hitting streak, but Cooley has been receiving racist threats. Would Blisberg mind playing bodyguard for a while? This is number 5 in the Harvey Blisberg series. Ring Game by Pete Hotman. Joe Crow draws on his investigative skills when he becomes mixed up in a dispute between Hyatt Hilton, a coke dealer turned cult leader, and the members of his cult. This is the last of the Joe Crow series. Rilke on Black by Ken Bruin. In South London, an unlikely gang of kidnappers hatches a plot. Their prey is a powerful local businessman with an obsession for the poet Rilke. The thing is, each kidnapper has a very different agenda, which means it's only a matter of time before the joking stops and the violence takes over. Going to the Dogs by Dan Kavanagh. Vic Crowther's housekeeper found the body. Ricky bled out after crashing through the French windows at the Manor's library. Crowther doesn't know who did this to Ricky, but he does know whom to blame. Duffy, the security consultant who installed the dodgy burglar alarm, will have to answer for this murder. This is the latest book, number 4, of the Duffy series. The Killing Circle by Chris Wiltz. What does tough PI Neil Rafferty do when he finds himself falling for the prime suspect in a murder case? The answers and the truth may be hiding in the steamy streets and sleazy bars of New Orleans, and Rafferty's got to choose the right one. Choose between a truth he can live with and one he could end up dying for. This is book number 1 of the Neil Rafferty mysteries. Slipping into Darkness by Peter Blauner. When Alison Wallace was beaten to death, Detective Francis X. Laughlin found the killer, Julian Vega. But when Alison's blood appears at a new crime scene, the old case is called into question. Cry at Dusk by Lester Dent. Johnny Marks knows all about running, and not just because he's a standout on the football field. Ever since he was 12, he's been raised by his shady Uncle Walter, moving from town to town and using a different name each time until forged transcripts land him a place at a top-tier college. Glass House by Chris Wiltz. This is a novel inspired by the true story of a lone policeman who was killed at the edge of one of the most dangerous housing projects in New Orleans. The Clay Hand by Dorothy Salisbury Davis. Phil McGovern, the sports editor of an Ohio newspaper, cannot help envying his friend Dick Coffey, but then Dick ends up dead. No one knows what Dick was doing in Winston, West Virginia. No one knows if he jumped or was pushed off a cliff. Phil joins forces with Sheriff Sam Fields to determine if Dick died by accident, suicide, or murder.